Hello everyone, this is CoolPro195 and it's time for that Cortex hype. You'll know how it is. Now this video is based on the recent Skylanders Imaginators Crash Edition box art leak, which consists of a figurine for Dr. Neo Cortex, meaning the leak implies that Cortex is actually going to be another playable character in Skylanders Imaginators that is from the Crash Bandicoot franchise, which makes it even more interesting. I personally find that it adds more value to the Crash Bandicoot franchise altogether, as it creates more collectibles. People have more things to collect within the franchise, like both Crash and Cortex figurines, which are both senseis, making them two of the most powerful Skylanders in the game, and two of the best Skylanders you can ever play as, and are potentially worth millions for collectors in the future. Plus, what other playable character from the Crash Bandicoot franchise that you can choose to include in Skylanders Imaginators from the Crash Bandicoot universe other than Dr. Neo Cortex? You know, it makes it more interesting because Crash and Cortex are enemies, so it really gives a nice contrast for people to actually choose between playing as Crash and Cortex. So that's actually a great way to go if this is actually real, which I hope it is. And the reason why I say that is because this is still a leak, it's not technically a confirmation. And this information was actually leaked last night on the 15th of August 2016, but now since they came up with an actual high-res screenshot of the box art, I figured it would still be relevant to make the video today on the 16th of August 2016. Now, it's likely that I am gonna get the Crash edition of Skylanders Imaginators on the release date, but at the same time, I don't know what's gonna happen, so we'll see what will happen. But I really do anticipate on getting it, and if I ever get Skylanders Imaginators, clearly it's gonna be the Crash edition. That's already been my thought ever since Crash Bandicoot was announced, so yeah, there's no ruling that one out. Anyways, for this next particular topic, I'd like to give a massive shout out to Եղərımıahısąıãh, or Isaiah, however you pronounce it, as he made a really good point to what this regards. You guys are familiar with the Wumpa Island or Insanity Island screenshot that was leaked when Crash Bandicoot's epic comeback was announced altogether, right? Well, as you see in the background, there's Cortex's castle from the original Crash Bandicoot, and what Jerry pointed out is that there could potentially be an idea of an actual level being based inside Cortex's castle, and that would be really sick if that ever actually happened. And it would make sense as well, since what this quote-unquote rumor implies that Cortex is actually going to be a playable character in Skylanders Imaginators, so it would make sense to make a Cortex castle level. As far as gameplay footage is concerned, there's currently no gameplay footage of Dr. Neo Cortex in Skylanders as of yet, clearly because this is just a leak of the box art. But according to the box art leak, Cortex is actually a text Skylander and not a life Skylander like Crash Bandicoot. And that partially makes sense because Cortex actually uses a ray blaster to demolish all of his enemies around him, just like he does in Crash to Insanity, and it would be amazing if they actually brought that back in Skylanders Imaginators, especially with the radial blast, when you just jump and then shoot below and then it disintegrates everything around you in Cortex's radius. You know, just like how Crash can do his belly flop or body slam, however you want to call it. Furthermore, it would be priceless if they actually give Cortex the ability to use fish in order to kill all the enemies around him, and perform something like a fish combo, which would be which will add furthermore to the comical humour. You know, it would bring back a lot of memories from Crash to Insanity as well, since the reason why that sort of gameplay mechanic came to my mind is that it would remind a lot of people of that cutscene in Crash to Insanity where Cortex is like offering fish as soon as the penguins get pissed off with him for not doing so well in the Wrath of Cortex. Not to mention that game took the piss out of the Wrath of Cortex as well. They also better give Dr. Neo Cortex multiple lives just like Crash Bandicoot has, making him another one of the best Skylanders you can play in the game. And it's only logical, since it's a Crash Bandicoot character from the Crash Bandicoot franchise, therefore he deserves multiple lives. Not only that, but if Crash can have multiple lives, then why not Cortex? It also keeps the novelty of how a Crash Bandicoot character would typically play in a game as well. As for the voice of Dr. Neo Cortex, since Crash is being voiced by Jess Harnell in Skylanders Imaginators as well, who's been voicing Crash Bandicoot from Crash Twinsanity right up until Crash Mind Over Mutant, it makes sense for Lex Lang to voice Cortex in Skylanders Imaginators, because he was also voicing Cortex from Crash Twinsanity right up until Crash Mind Over Mutant. Otherwise it wouldn't sound as fitting if Clancy Brown actually did it while Jess Harnell was voicing Crash, because they're clearly not from the same era of the Crash Bandicoot franchise. Although it's funny how the figurine design actually looks like the old Clancy Brown Cortex type design from the original PS1 classics, but at the same time it's not really surprising, because after all they did conform the design of the Crash Bandicoot figurine to the original classics for the PS1, so I reckon they figured they might as well make Cortex look like he was from the PS1 era, so then it fits in with at least the visual designs of the figurine. So yeah, that partially makes sense, but it just wouldn't make sense to have Clancy Brown voicing Cortex in Skylanders Imaginators, because Crash is being voiced by Jess Harnell, or Jess Harnell, however you pronounce it. The character design's fine though. Now where the whole Cortex figurine situation stands is whether it's going to be announced at Gamescom or not, but hopefully it will. There's no ruling that out. I reckon there is still a chance of Cortex being announced. After all, there was a chance of Crash coming back, so who's to say Cortex can't come back as well as a playable character in Skylanders Imaginators? I mean, might as well give both characters a chance, as this could potentially work as an additional bonus to the main project that is a Crash Bandicoot Remastered HD trilogy for the PlayStation 4. But that's just my take on it. Feel free to state your opinions about this below. But yeah, as of now, it just stands as TBA to be announced. Anyways, that's basically all I've got to say to speculate on the matter. Feel free and be sure to subscribe, like or rate, however you want to put it, or drop a comment below to state your opinions on everything that I've discussed in this speculation video that I've made. And also be sure to share it around with others to spread the word of the news. That is Dr. Neo Cortex's dramatic entrance in Skylanders Imaginators. Another one to crash the party. Laters everyone.